Hey, you lukewarm egoists. Subscribe to Suki. Or don't. Be a joke of a striker all your life if you want. Or be a strong egoist by subscribing right now. Your choice.
So today we are going to be continuing the NEL teams ranked from worst to best edition of the video, and this one will have Vivian Hugo, a character that was never in the NEL at all. Which team would do him the most justice and which team would do the worst? So we're going to be diving into Hugo's philosophy in this video, the NEL team's philosophy, their strengths in offensive, midfield, defensive aspects of the game, the team's compatibility with Hugo, and lastly the bias with the manager even gel well with Hugo to begin with, or be too focused on someone else like Chris and Snuffy. So before that, join the Discord to keep up with me and other Bluelock fans as well. And I have YouTube memberships if you want to help support the channel. That's really going to come in handy when part 5 comes out, because I'm going to release part 6 for the members, and then a week later then the public viewers can see it. Part 5 and 6 is almost done being scripted, so that's good. Anyway, thanks for my members Blue Flames, or Light Zone, Vital 6, and Basil Dragon. So if you broke, just subscribing and watching the video will do a world of good for me. Now let's get into the video, shall we? Vivian Hugo is a prodigious football player known as one of the best players in France. Hugo is also a member of the new generation Road 11, as well as Arsenal's team member and a center midfielder for the France U20 team in the FIFA U20 World Cup. He is regarded as one of the most promising talents in the football world, and unlike other professional strikers, he is only interested in becoming the world's second best player, operating as a shadow to Julian Loki by facilitating the team's success, all to win the World Cup 4 times and finally surpass Pele's free time record. Notably, he developed a suitable destiny theory. Now let's explain the NEL team philosophies.
Its league is known for its prodigious speed and running abilities. Goals are stolen by brute force, and physical capabilities can reign supreme. Its nickname being the League of Breathless Entertainment. Second, Spain. Its league values technique and creativity. An ordinary goal won't satisfy its audience. This is a place where a spirit of playfulness and creativity are brought together in harmony. Third, Italy. In this league, they are fond of craftiness and tactics in soccer. They have a history of winning games 1-0. With the defensive park the bus strategy, if you watch football, you would know the term AC Milan. A new system of being born here synthesizes overwhelming individual skill with organizational power. Fourth, France. Players in this league must have a strong sense of leadership, chasing a bag, great supporting role characters like Nanase, can have the skills to lead a system like Win and Shido did. Last, Germany. This league is based on a thorough understanding that a game of football is won by scoring more goals. It's exceedingly rational and is usually fixated on a victorious.
Fifth place is FC Barcha. This team's philosophy doesn't really suit Hugo since he is a restrictive type, and Barcha is really a team made for freedom types of players, which is why it really suits players like Livigno, Barcha, and heck, even Otoya. Hugo does have good technique and would do well in this team. The problem is it thrives in creativity, not robotic textbook systematic units. And as described in chapter 343, he realistically needs a team that could follow his orders and an inside forward who could go ahead and sneak by defenders for cut through passes, and an ideal number 1 striker. He likes his strikers fast so they could track his best passes, even to a non-low-key player like Gabriel. He was still on his case about that. So his defenders like Hayate and Derai are restrictive types, so he can make use of them and a bit more of the Barcha players. But Batra, who is someone who thrives off of creating his own plays, wouldn't really gel well with Hugo. So Batra and Hugo wouldn't really actually have a chemical reaction unless Batra is assisting Hugo or something like that. Or Batra cooks the whole defensive line just like 161 and 298 and then gives the final pass to Hugo so Hugo can give him the assist. Then the best thing for Barcha for Hugo's case is actually Otoya. He is the fastest off the ball mover he will get. So Otoya would receive some crazy passes from Hugo, especially when Otoya is using his off the ball movements to get by. Livigno definitely won't get along with this guy for sure, because he is the most restrictive guy Livigno would probably meet since Noah, and we saw how well that conversation went down. And Livigno is already a bad teacher, so this is just really wrong. Hugo might be the teacher for the team at some point, but then Livigno wouldn't like what he's teaching them in the first place anyways. Hugo would make this team go to a whole new levels defensively and make Otoya a beast, and Barcha would still be his own monster. To wrap this up, his positives is getting to feed Otoya great assists even if it ain't low-key level speed, getting to use the defective Lavino toys to his will, and his negatives is not being able to have the best chemical reactions with Barcha and just having a bad relationship with Lavino and having to carry a weak team in the first place that isn't following his philosophy through and through. Now let's get into 4th place. So I originally had Manshine City at 3rd place, but the teams higher had like a stronger team for Hugo to use, and then him and Chris would get along okay because they both know how to take care of their bodies, because Hugo would do so in the pursuit of his suitable Destiny Fury and takes the proper steps to control that goal, and Chris loves people who understand their ego and talents, which would be a very creepy way for Hugo to understand it, but it still fits the boat. I think they would know 100% what they would be doing, and they would need a second point of view to figure out how to take care of Nagi, and Hugo would be that third point of view since Agi is the second point of view. I think Hugo would really do well with formulating plans with Agi to bring the best out of this team. The problem is he doesn't have like a CDM like Bats, or he doesn't have like a fast person who would rely on his passes like Chigri, because he had that in Naden, but like Chigri is fighting to score his own goals, and then Rayo is also trying to like find his own goals as well. So like his ideal number runs in Rayo and Chigri actually won't be willing to work with him, and then even if Hugo is trying to assist Agi, it's kind of like the fact that Agi is gonna have to just pass back to Nagi, if not Chris is gonna throw a tantrum because he's just trying to do this. So Will stated in 175 that his techniques and new ego is to score his own goals without anyone's help as well. So yeah, I think the one person who would benefit from Hugo being on this team is realistically Seishiro Nagi, a man who thrives off of talented learners, especially the ones who would put all their will onto him. That's how he's able to do well with good passes like Hugo and Sai and Rayo, and you know, the list goes on and on and on. So yeah, I think Hugo would just be controlling Nagi, telling him how to grow, and unlike Agi who was helping Nagi, Hugo would give him the answers. It would be fun to also see like Hiragi also talk to Hugo, because they both like share tarot cards and destiny stuff, so that would be really fun to see. But yeah, Nagi would be the one who would benefit from him. Whether it's better or worse for Nagi's growth, that is not the point of the video. The point is that this would be Hugo's best toy, but the problem is there is just like none of the options he works best with, because he works best with like a ball winning midfielder, he works best with like a speedy number 1, he works best with a advanced forward, which Nagi could be, but Nagi's more of like a target man, but Nagi can't operate as an advanced forward. But in the NEL he was mainly acting like a target man or something like that, especially during his slump. So yeah, I think Manshine City at its best is Hugo x Nagi, but the problem is the other tools on that team just won't listen to Hugo or like cooperate with him as well as you would think. 3rd place is BM. Unlike FC Barcha and Manshine City, this team does follow his philosophy, especially the system before Bluelock invaded it, with using logic and rationality to make sure it lands in the grasp of a Kaiser impact for their goals. Alongside the fact that Kaiser is a self-made number 1, this team would be unstoppable with 2 new generation 11s. Hugo's passes into Kaiser impacts would be absolute cinema. Sure, Ness would be jealous, but since Hugo is stealing his role of assisting Kaiser, he would be happy to see it, as he's vouched for Kunagami and Isagi to assist on so many roles, and actually was happy at the fact that they would submit to Kaiser. It's just as long as Kaiser's happy, Ness is happy at the same time. That's what I believe it is. As long as Ness gets to be in the picture too, I guess, because when Kaiser was more fixated on Isagi, you saw Ness acted like that. So Hugo wouldn't really have to work with Isagi until Isagi gets Metavision, because he does like his shadow strikers as well. I forgot to mention that. That's why he likes Otoya in the first place, because they will cut in and be like the signal of decoy that the main striker doesn't have to worry about, or the defenders have to worry about, because they're so focused on the main striker. The shadow striker can cut in and do his thing, which is why players like Isagi and Otoya fit his system. It's just Isagi has to get on Hugo's level, or at least somewhat of Hugo's level, before it could work. He also has his poacher and target man and Kunagami in the first 2 games, and in the last 2 games he could have him as a ball-winning midfielder. Even though Konogami isn't really doing that in the Ubers game, that's the only role he was able to do when he deflected Bao's shot. And especially in the PXG game, he would be really useful in that. He has an insane advanced target man forward in Kaiser, and he also has Raichi as the ball-winning midfielder in the Ubers game as well, and especially in PXG. The problem with this team is there's going to be so many internal briefs. I can just feel it. Hugo and Ness, Isagi and Hugo, just everyone fighting again, and it's going to like really disrupt the team's balance at times. And the other problem is there's too many cooks in the same kitchen. Hiyori, Ness, Kiora, and Hugo now, that's too many playmakers in one team. Also, him and Yukimiya would not get along because Yukimiya always wants to rely on his own abilities and wouldn't want Hugo to be the one setting up his own abilities. So Yukimiya wouldn't fall under his orders either, so that's another fault too. Now the second best team is sadly Ubers. I really want Ubers to be first place in one of these videos, but it's just like because it's character preferences, it has to not be Ubers for this, because I'll explain why in this later. This team would have the second best philosophy for Hugo. The problem is Hugo's suitable Destiny Fury works best with the best team, but for this team the systematic tactics he works with actually follows him very well, as Hugo is a person who loves crafting his own tactics and just using the team's best defensive strategies and offensive strategies to the best of his abilities. He likes dominating with overwhelming individual skill players with his organizational power. This is nearly the perfect philosophy for Hugo, except I don't think he is fine with just relying on defensive counterattacks and winning by one goal. He doesn't have a strong CDM in this team. He will have his one striker anchor in Baro, but the problem is Baro doesn't like to rely on midfielders as much as like strikers like Shido and Nagi, so that really wouldn't go well. And Baro isn't as fast as like Chigui, Loki, players like that, so Hugo wouldn't work well with him. It could still work, but it just won't be like that. Sometimes Sendo may get lucky and receive the imbalance of Hugo x Bravo, but I really doubt Hugo and Sendo would really be able to work together, because Sendo is more of like a ball hyena poacher as a shadow striker. He's there, but like his presence really wouldn't do anything because he isn't as strong as like Otoya and Isagi as a shadow striker. Bao's charge is no joke though, because Bao will be ripping through players, but the problem is like Hugo will have to actually lower his skills and just adapt to Bao instead of Bao having to adapt to him. So it's going to be actually a reverse. I think this team would work because Hugo and Bao both are restrictive players, so them having to be like restrictive would work together, as when Bao usurps the team, I think Hugo will go crazy with that, with the new inspiration, and he likes tyrannical beasts like Bao and Noki. So Bao and Hugo, don't get me wrong, it is going to work, it's just not going to work as well as many other strikers, and he doesn't have like a strong second striker to work with in this team, like how he had Charles as a second striker in a sense, where Charles was the shadow striker for for Francis' first goal. So yeah, when Snuffy enters the team, it's also going to be the perfect 3 minutes of bliss for Hugo, Snuffy, and Bao. Now it's time to actually get into first place. For starters, we have Loki x Hugo for the 3 minutes of bliss Hugo will have. Honestly, Loki will just let Hugo be the coach because Loki already knows Hugo, and his player life can be so much easier since Hugo is going to be the coach and Loki can just chill. Hugo will have full reins as long as Charles grows. Hugo would be using Rin's midfield partner Tokimitsu and making sure he reaches his full defensive potential, so he would have his ball-winning midfielder in that. He would utilize Zantetsu way more because Zantetsu is speedy as heck and has the same acceleration thing as Loki, so he would really try to push Zantetsu to new feats. I think Charles would be less effective no matter how much Loki wants him to grow because Hugo is there, and that's fine because Hugo wants to be Loki's number 2, but he also has to help Charles shine just a little bit so Loki doesn't take the reins away from Hugo. Hugo would help Karasu also be a bigger deal, and he has full reign over 2 defensive tanks in Karasu and Tokimitsu, 2 insane strikers with Rin and Shido, and Shido would be the high intense striker that Hugo can send his strongest pass to. Meanwhile, Rin will be his enforcer whenever things with Shido ain't working, and Charles is also going to mix things up as well. There is so much I want to get into with this team, but that's for another video. So yeah, I think this list suits Hugo's taste best. Barcha and Manshine are freedom teams mostly, so that only has 2 players in both of those teams that would really work with him, being Nike and Otoya, because they thrive best in the NEL off of people's passes. In Boston München, it's the strongest team, but there's like too much internal beef that could hold the team back, so they stayed in third. And for second, it's because they damn near had the perfect philosophy. It's just that Nico isn't as strong as he is in the U20 World Cup, so it wouldn't be ideal for Hugo, and they don't have a strong shadow striker like Otoya and Isagi. They only have Sendo, and Bao isn't his perfect ideal striker, which they could still work together, but it isn't his perfect ideal. He loves Loki through Death and Death because of Loki's speed and tyrannical dream. So yeah, I think PXG is just perfect for him. He has the 2 strikers just like in BM. He also has like 2 ball minning midfielders just like in BM, but the problem is the team is going to be more compliant with him. There's going to be less beef, and he has more full reign because Loki would let him. So it's like a better, easier control over BM and PXG for him. That's why this is the best team for him, because he has full control and it's a really strong team. It fits the bill of tyrannical monsters, talented players, like the strongest players forming into one alliance, and Hugo gets to mesh that into his own form, and I believe that is a really nice thing to see. Well, you can switch PXG and Ubers. Now it's time for you guys to give me your thoughts on how I did. How would you rank these teams for Hugo? And until the next video, stay blessed. Suki out.